Hello and welcome to the Growing in Business interview series. I'm your host, Fleming Johnson, and today I'm joined by David Nason, um, who is the CEO and founder at Higher Brain. David, thank you so much for joining us. Would
Thank you,
you
Fleming.
like to, sure. Would you like to kick us off with a brief background as to who you are and what you do?
Sure. Yeah, thanks very much. So my name is David Nason. I'm based in Charlotte, North Carolina, Boston guy originally. Still have a little house up there. And I have a I my business is it's all related to hiring the right talent for the right role at the right time. And I spent 25 years in the recruiting business, both as an entrepreneur twice. I had a search firm, and I also had another a recruiting services company. And in between those entrepreneurial journeys, I ran big organizations at big companies. I spent almost 9 years at Oracle, running a global organization, Cisco, as well as a company called Infor. And ultimately, the business problem, if you will, the seedbed for what became Higher Brain was something that I discovered when I went to Oracle many years ago. And that is that in general, most managers are not very good at hiring. And I set out to solve that problem. Um, I grew up in a household of scientists, and I've always followed the scientific method at work. Um, my father, 45-year professor, my brother's a PhD in neurobiology, and I didn't follow the academic route. But like I said, I've always applied the scientific method at work. I built a science advisory team, some of them globally famous in their fields, and we infuse science with practical application that people can use um, that helps them to do their job.
Outstanding. So tell me, what are some common misconceptions about running a business and how do you address them?
Yeah, thanks. I think they can vary, but from my perspective, personally, it's the back office stuff. There's an assumption that you're going to create something or launch an endeavor that's going to be wildly successful and people are going to love whatever it is that you're building. Um, but there is a the framework, if you will, for your back office, your accounting and finance, and having that be something that is a well-oiled machine from the very beginning is something that's super helpful, because if you don't pay attention to those things early, later on they become really painful. Setting terms for however you're collecting payments, etc., having those be consistent across all of your customers, having contracts be consistent across all of your customers. Um, when something is new, you kind of are sometimes feel like you're almost offering everybody, a different version of the same thing. And that can become really painful when you've got 10 customers and each of those 10 customers have very different expectations about what it is that your product and service, because you got so invested in customizing a particular solution for them that you're finding yourself in a really challenging situation. How do I hire additional people to come in when we have 10 customers and they all have a different service from us?
So, how do you maintain work-life balance as a business owner? Do you have any personal rituals or habits that keep you motivated and focused?
Yeah, thanks for that. So for me personally, and I certainly wouldn't say that everybody is like me. Maybe nobody is. I don't know. But the number one thing for me, so I'm generally unbalanced. But it's on a cycle. And I make sure that I am planning things like time off, vacations, planning things like taking my wife out on a date. Otherwise, I just get sucked into running the business all the time, and I get tremendously unbalanced. The other thing that I do is I exercise every single day, and I also meditate 15-minute mindfulness meditation every single day. And I find that when I get away from either of those things, that's when the stress and the pressure and the never-ending, things to do mound up bigger and bigger and bigger. So those are the two things that both help keep the three things really that help me be grounded and have a routine that helps me to be healthy while I'm out there, pursuing my dreams.
Very good. In the constantly evolving business landscape, how do you stay adaptable and open to change? Are there any specific strategies that you use to remain innovative?
Yeah, thanks. So I do a couple of different things in that area. One of those is I make sure that my conversations with my customers and with prospects are not always sales related. I make sure that I'm talking to them about their business, the challenges that they're facing, the things that they seem as upcoming that may be new challenges to solve for. And I also I use Google and Google Alerts to send me alerts about particular companies who are prospects or customers. So when I'm having conversations, I am up to date on that business, and I use something that I call a VBR, and I stole that from Miller Hyman, but it's a valid business reason for the call. What are we setting to accomplish here today? And by bringing something of value into that meeting, by sharing and showing with them that I'm up to date on their business and we're specifically interested in what they are trying to accomplish, then people are open to sharing those things. And so we get a wealth of information by having those types of conversations with customers and prospects. So not only is the product and service that we're delivering to them specific to meeting their needs, but we're also hearing things that they are experiencing, and we can take some of that into the next conversation with the next person. I've just talked to such and so at such and so place. Are you guys experiencing the same or similar things?
Good. Now, could you offer a glimpse into your future plans and goals for your business? What do you envision as the next chapter of your entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, so we're set to scale, and we've spent the last 2.5 years building our product, our platform with a key set of core customers to the point where it is truly enterprise ready, and we're exploding. I mean, we will do this year 4 to 5x the number of customers and the number of users on our platform. And our goal is to do that again in 2026. So we have a very defined 5-year plan for the business, and it is an exciting time. Building something is hard, but getting something to the point where you are ready to scale that at this stage of the business is really exciting.
Outstanding. Finally, what advice would you offer an aspiring entrepreneur who is, say, just starting their journey or facing challenges in their businesses?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was teasing before the recording started, and I said, don't do it. But that's not really true. I think that there's a couple things that I have to share there. And I think not from just my experiences, but also other entrepreneurs or founders who founded their companies at about the same time that I did. um, which is that there's always going to be things that come up that you didn't plan for. But the number one thing that you need to know before you start is, have you validated that whatever it is that you want to, that you're seeking to create, right, or to build or to sell, have you validated the marketplace? Have you had dozens of conversations before starting anything? You have a thesis or an idea, call potential customers and ask them their thoughts. Ask them what their business problems are. Ask them what the cost of those business problems are. Ask them, if you solve those business problems, what might it look like? So for us in our world, we're a software company. We're a hiring enablement platform that hiring managers at enterprise customers use before, during, and after a hiring cycle to ensure the highest probability of success. I probably had no less than 100 conversations with leaders, business leaders, executives, CEOs, heads of HR, heads of talent, before we did any coding at all. It hurts me personally when I see somebody bring something to market and it falls flat. It falls flat because either they haven't really identified what the problem is, they haven't identified what the cost of that problem is, and they haven't validated that if they in fact create a solution to that problem, is that solution going to is it actually going to solve the problem? I think that like there's this painful thing when someone presents something and then the audience just says, "Who cares?" Uh, so that's the you know, there's lots of ideas that we have as we're observing, the world. And sometimes those things are things that a product or a service that you bring to market be could be highly successful, but you won't ever know that unless you actually talk to the people who might be your buyer.
That is outstanding. Very good information. Thank you so much for your time today, David. It's just been great to meet you and learn more about your entrepreneurial journey.
Absolutely. Thank you, Fleming. I appreciate you having me on.
And to everyone watching, I look forward to seeing you in our next episode.